This is the J. Scott Outdoors podcast on Western big game hunting and fishing, and I'm your host, Jay Scott. I live and breathe hunting and fishing, spending half the year in the field enjoying God's creation. I hope you'll enjoy hearing about our adventures. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have a really special show for you guys. We have A3 trophy hunts. We have Matt Schomburg, Jay Lopeman, and Chad Roten. And I've known all three of these guys personally for many years, and all three in their own right are fantastic hunters, family men, and fantastic guides. And I've got just a huge respect for all three of these guys, and we're very fortunate to have the three of them on at the same time. And guys, how you doing?
Good. Jay.
Great.
I'd like to start out by having each one of you kind of introduce yourself. Tell me about your family, kids. How'd you get your start in hunting? And then I'd like you to tell me one thing about yourself that maybe people don't know. Matt,
this is Jay Lopeman. I'll start out. I'm married to a small town girl in northern Arizona known as St. John's area. And I have twin 12-year-old daughters, and they do love to hunt. And one thing that people know about me that I like to do when I'm not hunting is probably golfing and CrossFit. The CrossFit.
And I can actually attest to your golfing, Jay. We originally met in high school playing golf. You were younger than me, but a heck of a golfer for sure. And Jay, how did you get your start hunting?
I got my start hunting with my dad. I grew up in the White Mountains. I grew up in Sholo, and my dad always took me and my brother out hunting all the time and fishing, and that's where I got my start.
That's awesome. How about you, Matt?
My name is Matt Schomburg. I am married to my wife, Shannon. We have one daughter. She will be 5 this coming May. Her name is Michael. I got my hunting start as well with my dad. He started me and both my brothers out young, just the standard way people do it, small game and fishing and on up the ladder into deer hunting, and we were off and running.
Awesome.
One thing that I like to do in my free time that people don't probably really know, and I don't get to do too much of it these days, but I hope to do more soon, is train horses. I've spent a lot of the time and earlier in my life learning how to train horses and team rope and rope. So I like horses.
Awesome. Chad, how about you?
Well, I am married. I have a wife with 3 great children. I have an 11-year-old daughter and then 2 sons, a 9-year-old, soon to be 10, and then a 3-year-old. I started hunting, just like a lot of us who just started off, shooting rabbits. And I spent a lot of time with my father out in the woods, as well as my brothers. I have 2 brothers that are very avid hunters as well. And to this day, I still enjoy spending time with them out in the woods. And one thing that I love to do when I'm not hunting is I love going to the lake and catching a few fish.
Awesome. What kind of fish mainly do you like fishing for, Chad?
I haven't done it as much as I used to, but I love fly fishing. My wife, she's from New Mexico, right up there by, Farmington, where Quality Waters is. Uh-huh. And she always joked when we first got married that I married her for fishing, not for her, because I spent all my time up there on the San Juan with my father-in-law and whatnot. And I love fishing rivers for trout. I love float tubing, sitting in a float tube in the White Mountains. Bass fishing, you name it. I love fishing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So do I. And the San Juan, that's a beautiful place up there. For my listeners out there, obviously most everybody has heard of A3. These guys have come on the scene Jay and Chad were partners, and Matt was doing his thing. And you guys, tell me how it came about that you guys decided to join efforts and create A3 trophy hunts. Because, quite honestly, from the outside looking in, you're talking about two superpowers, joining. And what does A3 stand for? And what came about to make you guys decide to join in those efforts?
Well, we we first became friends in the hunting industry, and this is Matt, and I had a great deal of respect for Jay and Chad and their abilities and their integrity, and as well as they had some of the best guides in the business. And so it was out of mutual respect, and that they were the best at what they did, and I like to align myself as closely with the best people that I can. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And, we at first we started, joking about it really more than anything. And then we started actually talking about it. And then it became a serious discussion and, ultimately led to, saying, yeah, let's do this.
What year did you guys, was it 2011? What year did you guys join up?
Well, this last season was our first official season.
Okay.
As A3 was the 2014 hunting season. I guess we officially joined right around the first of the year of 2014. Okay.
Correct.
And
so the 2014, the whole 2014 was the conglomerate efforts of the three of you in A3. That was the first official season.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you guys have a specific mission statement or company goal, or when you guys joined up? I mean, was there a common theme that other than let's just kill giant animals, or is that the common theme?
That is really the common theme. At the end of the day, we're driven to do the best we can and do the best for our clients, and that was really the common thing, was try to harvest the best animals we could with our clients.
Jay, there was there was a time when, before we were partners, we would get calls from clients that we had guided on elk and maybe a coos deer hunt, and they'd call us and say, I drew the Arizona Strip. Where I want you guys to take me. And as hard as it was, Jay and I never approached the Arizona Strip. We knew, and we were honest with our clients. We told them, you should book. We could go up there and have a good hunt, but you should have a great hunt. And because of that, you need to call Matt Schomburg, and he would do the same to us. He would send us elk clients, and when I saw that integrity with him, where it was okay for him to say that, he might not be, that he could provide a dang good hunt.
Right.
But for the ultimate experience, he would send clients our way. And I really respected that. And, he did the same with us. So.
Right. It was likewise for me.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. So a mutual respect created a partnership, and then the common goal and common bond of wanting to harvest the largest animals the state of Arizona could provide is basically the mission statement or common goal that you guys have.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
In this first season of 2014, starting out, I would assume we started out with, probably some deer and some elk. What were some of the most notable trophies since the creation of your partnership? Maybe starting from the beginning, tell me some of the trophies that you guys have harvested.
Well, they're all special, but the one that stands out the most to me was the 13B rifle deer hunt this year. I hunted with a longtime client of mine and a great friend that has, over the last 2 or 3 years, he's been battling some very serious, life-threatening medical problems that have been a roller coaster for him up and down, have sapped most of his strength and, took him to took him right to the edge a few times over the last few years. He actually drew the strip tag in 13A. He's an Arizona resident. He drew the 13A strip tag in 2012. Was too sick to be able to come and try to hunt at all. Lord bless him. He drew again in 2014, 13B this time. And he showed up. I've hunted with him a lot in the past. He's killed several other big deer in the past. So he's one of those guys that doesn't like to go backwards. He always likes to go forward. So we made a plan to try to harvest the biggest deer that we could. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. We actually decided not to hunt some other really, really good deer that would have been a lot easier to harvest. And we went after, one of the best ones that we knew about. He dug, he didn't have a lot of strength. He didn't have nearly as much strength as he did when he was healthy. And between myself and some of the guides that I had helping me, we carried everything that he needed to have with him. We carried a chair for him. The buck we were hunting was very difficult to locate at all. We ended up tracking the buck, literally track to track all day long, most of the day anyway. We carried all the equipment. We carried a chair for him. We would sit down in the shade and let him rest whenever he needed, catch his air, and then he was good to go. And we ultimately tracked the buck until we had a really good idea of where he probably was bedded. Not for sure. We quit the track and circled around, and lo and behold, we got eyes on him in the draw that we thought he was in, and was able to work John in there to about 240 yards and set up and waited the buck out for about an hour. Buck stood up, and a one-shot harvest, which is the only way he ever harvested anything, is with one shot, and this was no different. And we killed an absolutely gigantic mule deer buck that ended up actually being the biggest buck that we've ever killed on the general hunt in Arizona. So that would, hands down be the highlight of 2014 for me.
That's a fantastic story, Matt. How big was that deer, and what did he look like? What was his configuration?
The deer was a 6x9 that wound up officially SCI scoring 255 and change. He had an enormous amount of palmated mass on his left antler, just as big as both your hands put together. Just more mass than any deer should be allowed to have. And he was a very old deer. The deer had on his incisors on his bottom jaw, he had one tooth left in his mouth, and it was hanging by a tassel of skin, and the tooth was actually, root and all, was turned sideways in his mouth. And that was the only tooth that this deer had of his incisors in the front lower jaw. And he was an ancient buck that was at the end of his life that, thankfully for the good precipitation that we received, and he was able to hang on one more year and grow some big horns. If it would have been a bad year, I doubt that deer would have, he wouldn't have been nearly as big as he was, and he possibly wouldn't have been alive at all, because his teeth were gone. And, so it was a perfect deer to harvest, just an ancient old warrior of a buck that wound up being really, really big. We killed him in a really, really cool manner. A hunt I'll never forget, for sure.
That's awesome. Is that a buck like you'd been watching for many, many years and he just blew up, or had he been just a giant for several years? No,
it was a buck that we had not known about in the last couple of years. We knew about him earlier in his life. We had lost track of him. He lived in very difficult country. The trail cameras are fairly ineffective. You can't just climb up on the big peak and glass him up and go, well, there he is. It's just basically flat, rolling, thick trees. So no, it was, like a lot of these biggest bucks that we've killed over the years that we don't have trail camera pictures of, that we find the old fashioned way, a few of them still, and this one was no different.
That's awesome. Jay and Chad, any trophies that jump out at you in the 2014 season to highlight your season?
I would say, this is Jay. I had a past client that came out. He had hunted Coues deer with us before, him and his dad, and he'd killed a tremendous buck the first time he came out. They came out on October Coues deer hunts, and he killed a 110 incher the first time he came, and in between there, he's a young 30-year-old, and he had some heart issues and ended up having open heart surgery. And, he made it through. He wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do this again. And he said, he started feeling better. They got him where he could walk on a treadmill. And he had medication that would allow him for his heart rate to get so high, and then it would just stop him. I mean, we'd get out of the truck and walk a little ways, and as soon as his heart hit a certain level, it was like a governor on his heart. And so we'd found a buck scouting that I told him, hey, I think we can, get into this area, just take our time. And we got in there, and as most people know, this October hunt, the deer movement was very minimal. The super warm feed was tremendous, so they just didn't need to move much. And we got in there, and he, 3 days in a row, he walked in there with us, and finally the buck stood up. The buck had only moved in 3 days. He probably only moved 40 to 50 yards in 3 days. And he made a tremendous 600-yard shot and killed a 113.5-inch deer, and with his dad, right there. And so that was a pretty neat deal.
That's awesome. Has his health improved since then?
He's slowly coming along. It's just something that he's got to be careful with. I mean,
sure.
Especially at that age. But he says things are looking better and better.
Good. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome deer for sure. And I know how tough those early hunts are. It's one thing to have a buck scouted out, but sometimes, like you said, if the feed conditions are so well, and they literally, you could throw a blanket around the areas that a lot of times those bucks live in, and I'm sure it was hot on that hunt, and there's very little movement. So they're right there on that hill, and you just got to find them.
Yep. We had seen that buck the evening before, and we just got a split second before he bedded back down, and so we knew he was still there. And when we found him the next day, literally, he might have been 10, 15 yards from that spot, and
wow.
We didn't find him until, I would say, it was almost 11 or 12 o'clock the next day.
Wow.
It just hadn't moved at all.
And when you found him the next day, was it during his midday, his shade change?
Yes.
So
yep.
So you just stayed glassing, and you knew you just kept looking in the pocket, and he finally stood up.
Yeah, just burned the eyeballs. That's,
yeah.
I think a lot of people miss out that time. As soon as that
yep.
sun gets on them, they got to move a little bit, and you just have that split second. You got to find them.
Yeah. Sounds like an awesome hunt. What about you, Chad? Did you have any hunts that really jumped out at you in 2014?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple, actually. The first one was my daughter, my oldest child. She just turned 10, and so she applied in her first year ever applying. She drew a Unit 27 youth deer tag. And she put her little heart into preparing for that hunt, and I was able to slip away and go over there, and she was able to watch her just hike her little fanny off. She hiked, it was about, Unit 27 is not the easiest country to get around in, especially for a tiny, tiny little girl who has to step over all the deadfall from the fire and whatnot. But
sure,
she did about a 6-mile hike through that stuff and walked out of there with a nice 3x4 muley, and we got another hunter, and she's a female, and she's addicted to hunting now. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, that was the pinnacle. And then I was able to share a hunt, a late Coues deer hunt, with he's my adopted brother. He's from Mexico. He grew up with my family in high school. He came from some rough circumstances, and we brought him in our home, and he drew a December whitetail tag, and he's hunted Coues deer for probably 10 years. He's killed one small buck and, a spike, and he wanted something better, and he was able to kill a really good buck with, Jay was down there with us as well. We were hunting down there, and we decided to hunt after Christmas, and for whatever reason, the bucks still weren't going. It was real hit and miss, and we went into a pocket that always has some nice deer in it, and he killed a huge buck, actually, a 115, and he was just as shook up and excited as it gets. It was awesome. So,
who was more shook up, you or him?
Believe it or not, Jay, I actually had to tell him to relax so he could hit the thing. Yeah. So it was fun. It was an awesome hunt. So
that's cool. Sounds like there's nothing like hunting with family and good friends, and it sounds like all of you guys' stories. When I asked you about the most notable, I mean, obviously in Matt's case, hunting with a lifelong friend and shot just a giant deer, and then you guys shoot big Coues deer, and your daughter shooting a big deer, but it's a 400-inch elk or whatever. I mean, it's funny how the hunts that mean the most are the ones that you do a lot of times with old clients that have become friends, and there's nothing like hunting with family. That's awesome, guys.
Right.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your forecast for, let's just start out with elk so we're all on the same page. With our 2015 elk season, obviously the draw results will come out here in another 3 weeks or so, or maybe 2 weeks, who knows. Let's get the 2015 forecast from you guys, and maybe give me a top 3 or 5 units that you guys really like, and any one of you guys can start.
Jay, I think the forecast for Arizona elk this year is going to be good, if not great. It's a little early yet, as we all know. March precipitation, April and May is very, very critical, for antler development on the top end bulls, and then the monsoons definitely contribute to a healthy rut. We're excited. This last storm we just got, we've been out in the woods quite a bit. We've picked up some very, really good sheds already off some big bulls, and the green up that's already happening is awesome. It's been a couple years actually since I've seen the moisture this saturated and green. So.
And Chad, before you go on, I want to double back with something you said there, and the other guys, you guys chime in too. I'm of the notion with our Arizona elk in that it's not as necessary to have an extremely big snowpack in the winter as much as it is to have wet springs and going into when they're dropping their antlers and early spring green ups. Tell me if you guys agree with that, as far as I think you can have just an average winter, but have the timing of the storms in the spring at exactly the right times, which is, late February, mid-February, early March storms, and then on into April, and that can be a game changer. What are you guys' thoughts on that, as far as antler development?
Yeah, Jay, this is, I would say I totally agree with that. I prefer definitely the mild winters, especially like we're having this year. And definitely the moisture on timing is a huge deal. We don't always have to have that record amount of moisture for the horn growth to be great. But, timing is everything. And it seems like, we had a real mild winter, but it was wet. And now if we can just get a few more storms, over the next couple months, I think we'll be golden.
Yeah,
agreed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's some really good green up happening right now, and in the lower country, it's been happening over the last month. And like Jay said, these mild winters, Arizona is generally mild, compared to some of our northern states, Utah and Colorado and whatnot. But when it's as mild as it has been, I mean, it's been almost 60 degrees up in Flag. I think we had one of the warmest Februaries on record. Just looking at the bulls we've been looking at, their bodies just look awesome. I mean, Jay, how they get at the end of winter where they're just super scraggly and they kind of look
drawn down,
emaciated from the rut a little bit. I mean, I got to tell you, the bodies on the bulls right now, I mean, they look very,
fat
very
and
good.
sassy.
They do. They look fat and sassy, and
I think that could alone, even if we didn't get any, banner storms, let's just say we got some average precipitation from here on out. I mean, it makes me feel good to hear that you're saying the bulls are fleshy and feeling good because, and Matt, you can weigh in on this too. It's no doubt that they've got to get their bodies in good condition before the nutrition will pour into their antlers. If they go into the growing season with their body already doing well, they can pour it straight into the antlers.
I agree 100%. And as it pertains to the mule deer, I think it's split about 50-50 as far as I think the antler growth runs, 4, 5, 6 months behind what the habitat conditions were. So like the deer in northern Arizona that, the tremendous monsoon season that we've been having, fortunate enough to have the last few years, and namely this last one that was just unbelievable. I mean, just all the water you could ever hope for, all the tanks are full. The feed is just lush and vibrant, and the grass is knee deep. And when the habitat as a whole is in that good a condition, the animals bounce out of the rut. They come out of the rut and recover from it quick. Like the deer that rut in November, December, they draw themselves down during the rut, but the feed is so healthy still that they bounce out of the rut. And like you say, it's all about the body condition. If when they shed their antlers and start growing new ones, if their bodies are not in catch-up mode, then their antlers explode. If their bodies are behind, or if it doesn't grow the feed the year prior, and you have a mild or a below average winter, and even if you do get a spring green up, even if you have a tremendous spring, there can be a number of months there where those animals are like you say, they're fleshing their bodies back out. They're getting their antlers will be growing, but a lot of their intake is going to stoutening their bodies back up. And when they don't have to do that, when they can shed their antlers and start regrowing with a healthy body already, those are the years when things just, granted you get, the timely storms that you need going forward, but I think it's kind of 50-50, especially with the deer.
Sure.
If they're healthy when they shed, I think that means a lot.
So would the consensus be on the elk, a positive outlook on the elk if we continue to get storms? Good. And then I hear you saying, Matt, that with our monsoons that may have been too late to really affect deer antler growth or elk antler growth, it's still putting feet on the ground. They're going into the winter in good condition. It was a fairly mild winter. They've been getting storms out there on the strip. So on a 2015 deer forecast as well, you're very optimistic.
I am very, very optimistic for the 2015 deer season. Just based on, we've paid tremendous attention to the antler growth and, have plotted and schemed and come up with all our own opinions on what grows antlers. And all signs, in my opinion, at least point to a fantastic year on the strip. I think it's I think the deer is a little bit more already locked in than maybe the bulls would be. In my opinion, I think that with the moisture that we had last summer and what we've already had this year, I think a lot of those bucks are already locked in. They're going to have a fantastic year as far as antler growth goes.
That's awesome. Guys, talking about, A3 trophy hunts, back to the elk, is there any units that you don't guide elk hunters in? Let's start there. And then, give me your, top 5, obviously, 9, 10, 23s, 27, unit 1. I mean, tell me kind of, if there's units you don't guide in, and then tell me kind of what's your top 5 units. And they don't have to be in order, just, what you like about each unit and what you're seeing for this year.
Sure. So to answer your first question, Jay, we guide statewide. We have no problem guiding a 5B or 4A, 4B, whatever it may, clients. We enjoy those hunts as well, with an understanding that they typically don't produce the caliber of animals of some of these other units. But nonetheless, there's some good elk hunting to be had. As far as our favorite units to be in, it's, I might get beat with a stick for answering it the way I'd answer it, but it's whatever one gets the most moisture and has the best inventory of age class of bulls.
Right. Yeah.
We all know that there's big bulls in every unit in this state. There's some units that are very popular for big bulls, and then there's units that are not popular for big bulls. But on normal moisture years, I think you can look at Unit 9. What do we like about the Unit 9 hunt? We like that there's no archery cow hunts at the same time. For those who draw the archery tag, we know that this year they moved the muzzleloader hunt in front of the archery hunt, and I suspect some great bulls will be taken on that. With that being said, I think the archery hunt is going to be off the charts in Unit 9 this year, especially with the moisture the way they are. Unit 10 is a unit that is, in my opinion, it's kind of a feast or famine type unit. But it's very easy to get drawn to that unit when you see good moisture. The genetics in Unit 10, Jay, you know this, they're second to none.
Yeah.
To grow huge bulls, big beamed bulls, big top ends, big frames. You see a lot of that in Unit 10. 23, and that's north and south. You've got to put those on the list.
Sure.
Huge bulls there. I think, several years ago, if you remember, the Game and Fish went to this two late elk hunts in Unit 22, and then I think they did it for a year, if not 2 or 3, in Unit 23. And it started struggling. Since they've eliminated that second late bull hunt, and cut back on tags back down to 200, there's really been an increase in quality animals there. And then the White Mountains, Unit 1, 27, phenomenal units for elk. And the beauty of those units, there's a lot more natural water, if you will, in those units. There's more springs and seeps and creeks and things like that, whereas in northern Arizona, we don't see much of that. So it's not as susceptible to the impacts of the drought, which can be a concern to people putting in who don't want to run the risk of, burning a 10 or 15, 20 years of points on a tag and having to worry about, bulls that might be 20 or 30 inches off what they should be. But there's big bulls in all those units, and I would suspect that statewide there's going to be some really good elk taken this year.
That's awesome. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about your trail cameras. I know that both with deer and with elk, you run a lot of trail cameras, and I know that Jay and Chad, specifically on elk, for years and years and years, even back when trail cameras kind of first came out, I know you guys have an incredible amount of inventory of watching bulls year after year, and I want to talk to you about maybe some specific bulls that either you killed or that you know got killed, and give me some age. And I know it's variable, and I know you can't pin exactly, but, are there some bulls that, 10, 12, 14 years old? I mean, what's some of the oldest bulls that you actually have photographs of, so you could say, I know that bull is, however old? Do you have any examples of that?
Well, Jay, I could tell you of a really good bull that's pretty well known out of Unit 9, which we call the Rhino. And
you guys killed that bull, right?
Yes.
Is that Hammer? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
a great example. Tell me about it.
Well, that bull, I believe the first year we got a picture of him was in, I believe, 06.
It was 2005.
Was it 5? Okay. Yeah. It was 2005. And we harvested him in, I can't remember what year it was. I think
13.
Was it
2012
or 13?
12, I think, guys, because I think I was up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last year I was in 9. Or no, it was 13. It was 13. You're exactly right. Yep.
And we killed that bull, and his Jim's dad had harvested another really popular bull from that unit the year before, and both bulls, it seemed like year after year we kept saying, gosh, they, from the very first time we saw them, they were big. All the way back, 2005, 2006, they were at that 390 plus mark. And the bull that Jim Sr. killed in 2012, that bull, I don't know if he was hit or something happened to his body, but he went through about 3 years where I would say he dropped down to the 360 mark. I would say at least 30, 40 inches down. And, but when we harvested him, I think they scored him at 396. And that bull and the bull we called Rhino that we killed in 2013, both those bulls, I sent the jaws off, and both of them are 18 plus years old.
Oh, my goodness. That is unbelievable.
And I think that, I thought that was unheard of. And it just, I guess it goes to show, some of these units that border parks or reservations, they can produce some really old animals.
Absolutely. So you must have cut the jaw off and sent off some samples and such, Jay?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. 18. So in 05, it harvested in 13. So that's 8 years. And if he was already 390 something in 05, it would make sense that he was a 7, 8, 9-year-old bull. It's feasible that a bull could be that big at 5 years old? Arizona?
Yes, I killed a bull in 3C a long time ago, back when I first met you, and a 370 bull, and he was 4.5.
Yeah.
So
that's Arizona genetics for you.
Yep.
So a lot of these bulls, you're watching them year after year, regardless of size. You're seeing some bulls on your cameras 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and still it's the same bull?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
How often, guys, and Matt, you weigh on this, on the deer stuff, how often, I don't run trail cameras personally, so I don't have the vast knowledge you guys have as far as the inventory of stuff. How often do you see those non-typicals throw the trash from side to side, or, one year they'll fork fifth and a fork second, and then the next year it'll throw it over to the other side? I know back probably 02, 03, I guess, it's going back, maybe 02. In 3C, I had that one bull, and I think Rusty Palmer ended up harvesting him the next year, and he threw his trash from one side to the other. I'm curious, on your bucks and on your bulls, do you notice those non-typicals throw that stuff side to side?
Definitely.
On the bulls, they do it all the time.
As do the bucks. You know, we see it on the mule deer bucks as well. They'll do it with droppers, you know, splits, inlines, cheaters. For what reason, I have no clue. But there is multiple examples over the years of bucks that trade sides with you know, very specific extra points. It's, you know, why they do it, I have no clue, but they definitely do it.
Do you guys see bucks with actual drop tines on one side, and then maybe the next year he won't have a drop tine at all? Like the drop tine will be gone? Yeah,
we do. And that can definitely happen on drought years, and not only drops, but you know, that's one of the things that suffers the most in northern Arizona on drought years with the big bucks they won't grow as much extra points as they do on a year when they're healthy. So, you know, we've seen bucks that had multiple extra points on both sides, you know, drought down to a 3x4. You know, he might be wide, he might still have a little mass, but will virtually lose all of his extras. He'll still blade and have, you know, you can look at the rack and tell where the extras should be, but they're not there. And then the next year turn around on a better moisture year and regrow it all right back. So it's you see all sort of variations.
Very interesting. Guys, on that same kind of topic, with all the trail cameras that you run, how often, now let's just talk elk for right now, how often do you get pictures of bulls that obviously you recognize? How much are they moving, let's say during the summer, let's say, you know, before they drop their antlers? At what period are they moving the most other than the rut? And at what period do they become very, very habitual on the elk?
You know, Jay, on the elk, in 2008, we went with Randy Ulmer up in Unit 9, and he killed a great bull right at the end of the hunt, and 387. The bull he killed, we had watched for years. We actually had a shed off him and whatnot. But his bull moved 26 miles as the crow flies.
Goodness.
You know, all the way from the north.
Like out of units, like changing units type of movement?
Well,
no, okay.
Almost. Yeah, so he almost did. We killed a bull in Unit 10 in 2010, I believe, that moved 24 miles. We've killed bulls that we've watched summering in Unit 10. We've killed them in Unit 9. You know, to say how far these bulls will move, you know, we've seen them stay right there, or they can move 20, 25, even 30 miles. We've seen bulls in 23, you know, in a matter of a few days, move 16 miles through some of the roughest country Arizona has to offer. So, you know, it's a chore to keep up with them. At what point can we start, you know, can you get comfortable that a bull is in a place where you can hunt him? I think, you know, when you start seeing bulls cow up, and if there's not too much pressure, I think you could expect them to, you know, to stay in the same area as long as the cows are cycling and he can stay active there. And then on the late hunts, you know, there's some pockets that once they get there, you know, you should
throw a blanket over them, couldn't you?
You could, but in Arizona, one thing we experience is when they get there. And I think the weather dictates a lot of that, you know. Even though we don't have the 3 foot of snow and they can't, you know, they don't want to stay in it and they need to migrate, a lot of it's just temperature related, I think, where they, you know, for whatever reason, or the rut gets drawn out into October, you know, you get that second cycle and they want to hang around for that a little bit longer and then, you know, hang out for a couple weeks before they finally decide to make that move to the, you know, to where they like to hang out in the winter. And I don't think it's a question of bulls going to the same spot year after year as much as it is a timing thing. And you just hope that they, you know, that they get in a huntable place before the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, I'll get to the deer in a second, but staying with the elk, guys, from your patterns and all your watching, when is the big move day? I mean, I have my idea when the big move day is, prior to the elk rut. If you had to pin down a 7-day window, when is moving day for those elk to go from velvet stage to, they're rubbed and now they're moving? When is that 7-day window?
We've seen bulls rub, so depending on the size of bulls typically, but and what part of the state they're in, some bulls will rub that first week in August, but I would say as a norm, you could expect anywhere from about the 12th to the 18th of August, the bulls will rub. And then once they rub, like you said, Jay, it'll be a day or two, maybe 3, and then if they're moving, they're going to be on the move. And that period from about the 20th to basically September 1, it's a chess match out there.
They could go any direction.
There's bulls all over the place. I mean, that bull we killed in Unit 10 that moved over 20 miles, he walked through hundreds of cows. And why he chose to go where he wanted to go, I don't know. Sometimes I think these things are as bad as salmon, where they go back to where they were calved almost. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I find that, August 20th to, September 5th, in there, I mean, it's anyone's guess. They could be moving. I usually get up there about September 1st and start really glassing. And, it's, as you guys know, it's real common to just see bulls just on a walk and, there's walk and they walk to the horizon. You know, it's mind boggling, but I think that's good for our listeners to hear that, they can be patterning a bull all summer and think they've got him, and maybe the worst place to look for that bull is right where you've been watching them all summer. But are there cases where you have them all summer and boom, they're right there and they don't move at all during the rut, or is it more common that they move?
That's a good question, and I don't know what the right answer would be, but we've taken a lot of bulls that have stayed right there, and we've also taken bulls that have moved a long ways. And, it seems like the units where there's more elk, they'll almost stay, at least their window is not as big. Their area that they're roaming in, it seems like it maybe not quite as big. Whereas you get some of these bigger, vast units, with high bull to cow ratios, and, those suckers will move immensely. And a lot of it is, Jay, there's certain pockets, and anyone who spends a lot of time out there knows this, a buck hole or a bull hole, we like to call them, where bulls just like to summer, and you're not going to go find a lot of cows there in the summer. Everything you see is going to be bulls, so, it's pretty much understood that most of those bulls are going to pull out of there.
Yeah. Matt, what about on the deer as far as travel, and have you documented bucks that, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, in the non-migratory units, I think the bucks as a whole move less than bulls do. And I've also learned that each one is really an individual. Multiple bucks that we have followed and harvested through the years have lived, have grown their antlers and rubbed and rutted and shed in the same, canyon or on the same mesa or the same flat, using the same water source, 365 days a year, for multiple years on end. There is the oddball buck that does travel. There's been a few bucks over the years that got killed 8, 10, 12 miles from where they summered. It's by no means is it the norm, in my opinion. I think that the deer are a little more homebound than these bulls are. They kind of live where they live. But there is always the oddball that that does crop up every few years. It's like, you see a kill picture of it, or it's like, holy moly, we saw that buck, in August, way over here, 10 miles away. So it does happen, but it's not normal. I think it's, they do walk when they rut, obviously, and they do cover more country than when they're not rutting. But as a whole, they still stick to the same, not necessarily the same tight little core area, but they don't pick up and walk 25 miles across the unit like Jay and Chad are talking about. That would be very abnormal. In the non-migratory units, the kaibab units and whatnot, those deer, on a typical year migrate off the mountain, and so where they summer to where they rut is more a migratory move than anything. But
and just to clarify, Matt, 13A and B are what you would consider non-migratory, and 12A and 12B would be more migratory units, and like the Paunsaugunt in Utah, obviously migratory, correct?
Right. As far as a true migration, in 13A and B, there's mini migrations, I guess, where they'll summer on top of the mountain and then walk to the bottom of the mountain when it gets colder, it snows, but they're not a true migration like you see on the kaibab or coming out of the Paunsaugunt into Arizona.
Sure.
So yeah, I would call them non-migratory for the most part.
Sure. I think that's all great information for the listener out there to take in from these guys that monitor these animals all the time. Guys, we could talk about this for days, and there's all sorts of little micro topics. I want to move on a little bit into the kind of gear that each of you use, starting with tripods, optics, big binoculars, around your neck binoculars, backpacks, video cameras. What are you digiscoping with? Trail cameras you like the best? Do you have side-by-sides, UTVs you like, tires, GPS, topo programs? If you could each take, a few minutes and kind of run through the gear you use, if you can be specific with me and tell me, pretty much around my neck all the time, I have this, and kind of go through your series of what you use. Either one of you can start first.
Right. Okay. I can start. I use a slick carbon fiber tripod. It's proved to be I like the best of all that's available right now.
Do you know which model, Matt? Is it a standing one that you can stand behind and glass through?
Yes,
okay, that's what I use too.
I use Koa Big Eyes for all of our long range stuff. High elevation, long range glassing. Around my neck, I carry a pair of Zeiss 10x45s with a rangefinder in them. I've had them for 3 or 4 years now. In my opinion, they are albeit I haven't tried some of the latest ones that are on the market now, because I've been more than happy with these. But as far as the glass and the functionality of the rangefinder, it's second to none. Backpacks, I move around a lot with backpacks. I believe in trying them all. I have used pretty much every backpack on the market at some point in time. Eberly stock, Outdoorsman's. Currently, I'm using a QU backpack. I like it really well. It seems to.
Which QU one do you have, Matt? Do you know how
big?
It
is a 5200 Icon, I believe.
Okay. And you said also the Outdoorsman's pack you've used and the Eberly stock?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see here. Trail cameras. We've used about every trail camera that there is. In recent years, we've used a lot of coverts. More recently, we have been very impressed with the stealth cams and how they're working in the battery life and the quality of the pictures. I think we'll be using a lot more of them in the near future. I carry a fairly basic Sony HD Handycam. It takes phenomenal video from my application, as well as a times up system that we use on our big eyes to film through. I'm a firm believer in Honda ATVs. There is you could drive them off a cliff and pick them up at the bottom, get back on them, and ride them another 10,000 miles. And everyone I've ever owned has been that way.
I've heard multiple stories where guys actually have done that. They roll them all the way to the bottom, and they go down there, and the gas isn't even spilled or nothing, and they turn them over, and they start them right back up.
They're unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
They're unbelievable. I've put over 30,000 miles on multiple different Honda quads over the years, and short of changing the oil and changing the spark plugs, they'll start and run at 30,000 miles just like they did at the first mile. They're incredible machines. I recently purchased a side-by-side or a UTV made by Can-Am. I don't have a lot of miles on it so far. So far, I love it. And it's a much more comfortable ride for not only me, but for our clients. Tires. I'm kind of the same way with tires that I am with backpacks. As we all do, we chew up tires, a lot of tires. And, so I've kind of rotated through about every tire out there. I have Mickey Thompsons have been what I've used the most recently with good luck. And when I say good luck, I mean, getting the most mileage out of them, not chunking out as bad on rocky roads. Basically just looking for, the most bang for my buck, because we are going to destroy lots and lots of tires. So, but overall, they're all, there's no drastic difference between any of them, at least for me. I mean, we just destroy tires. It's a part of what we do. And I'll forever be searching for the one that I can put on and go for, 50, 60,000 miles, but it's not going to happen. GPS, I've used Garmin GPSs since I bought my first GPS. Garmin has done everything I've ever wanted it to do since the first one I bought, so I don't intend to change that anytime soon until somebody shows me one that's better. Topo map programs. I use the National Geographic topo map programs as well as Google Earth, but the National Geographic topos are 1/24,000 ratio that are the exact topo map that you would buy back in the day when we used to buy paper maps. It shows all the roads, springs, dirt tanks, canyon names. They're just very thorough. They don't miss a lot, and some of these other map programs definitely do miss a lot. So kind of a general rundown of what I use.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. What are you guys using, Jay and Chad?
I'll let Chad tell you, because pretty much everything we use is almost exactly the same.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. I think between Jay and I and Matt, we own every pair of high-end binoculars made known to man. But lately, Jay, I own a pair of I have 15s, the new Swaro HD 15s, the Leicas we really like, the Leica range-finding binos, the HDB, with the button on the right-hand side. Those have been really nice. Jay and I both have those. We both have Swarovski spotting scopes. I think I ran into you in Unit 9 a few years ago, and you asked me which tripod I was using, and it was a Calumet.
Yeah. You still running that?
Yeah, I like their carbon fiber tripod there. It's been really good. It's durable.
If I remember right, it has thicker legs. They're actually a thin-walled leg, but the diameter's fairly stout, but it's a real lightweight. Yeah, it felt like a real nice tripod.
Yeah, it is. It's been really good over the years. It's held up to
What head are you using?
So there's a couple different ones. I don't think you can get them anymore, but the 701 HDV by Manfrotto.
Yep. That's the one Dar uses.
Yeah, we really like those. I think, as well as the Outdoorsman's, it just depends on the application. If you're going to be filming and whatnot, these larger base, these heads that can handle the larger plates for a base are much better. Packs, Outdoorsman's. again, I think I have every pack, just about every type of pack out there. We all have big eyes as well as our guides. Almost all of our guides carry the big Koas, the HDs. And one thing with those, and I don't know if you've ever tried them, Jay, but if you've ever looked through those 21 eyepieces, they are amazing.
The 21 wides.
The 21 wide
I like
angles.
those. I don't like the 50 eyepiece. I like the 32 and I like the 21s.
Yep.
Do you use the 21s more than the 32s, or do you use the 32s more?
So I don't use the 50s. I'm with you. The 50s are okay, but I think the 32s and 21s are great. It seems like I use the 21s more on coos deer hunts when we're really looking generally closer because we're hunting a very specific area. I really like the look the 21s give you. But so yeah, those are the binos and optics, different optics we use. We both have Canon cameras, HF20s, I think they are. They're older, but they take nice video, nice HD video.
I'm shooting the first Canon, I think it's the G10, and then there was the G20, and now they have a G30, I guess, that has a 20 power optical, but it's got a doubler, not a screw-in doubler, but an internal doubler that kicks it out to 40 optical, which I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I was talking to someone and they really like that new G30, so I'm thinking of upgrading to that G30.
See, we probably all will be here pretty soon now. No, I hadn't even heard of that, but just hearing about that, I mean, gosh,
I guess there's an internal just button on the function menu on the screen that all you do is hit it, and it's 40 it goes from 20 optical to 40 optical.
Wow.
And I think one of the problems with my G10 is, it's only a 10 power optical zoom, and while it takes incredible video, there's a lot of times on deer hunts and sheep hunts and stuff where I'm definitely lacking in zoom, but yeah, I guess we'll all have to look into that G30. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I appreciate that because I hadn't even heard of that. So, well, yeah, we'll probably be carrying a new camcorder in the field this year. We all have just four-wheelers, Polaris and whatnot, and Rangers, a couple side-by-sides. And then, we all use the same stuff for topos and the files that we have. So,
Are you finding any tires, Chad, that on your UTV that are holding up more than others, or are they all pretty much the same with your use?
I haven't noticed a change personally. I know Jay. Jay, weren't you talking about some there that?
Yeah, I wished I had the name of them. I don't have them here at the house, and but we had gone through quite a few different ones, and these last ones, I mean, were a couple of my ranch buddies and stuff that are on them every day. I switched them over to them, and they love them. I'll get you the name, Jay, and you can maybe put it out on one of your other podcasts.
I ran into some Sedona Ripsaw, the Sedona Ripsaw tire, and Dar and I both are running those on our Rangers and been real happy with those. So I'm curious to see if there's something out there that's better, but that's kind of the best that I've found about a year and a half ago. I've been pretty happy with them.
Are they belted?
So, I don't think they are belted, but I'm not 100% sure. Sedona Ripsaw, you can get them pretty much at any UTV tire store. I think they're a 10 ply, but they just seem to be very durable. I had them down Gould's turkey hunting. I had them last year coos deer season in Mexico, and this year coos deer season, and still have yet to get a flat. Of course, I'll probably go out there tomorrow and all four tires will be flat, but been pretty happy with them. Guys, the four of us can talk probably till the sun comes up tomorrow morning. I know you guys all have families, and I want to kind of close on when you're looking at bull elk, and I want you guys to kind of all answer this. As far as field judging, what are some tips that you can give that you're looking for in, say, a bull that's 350? What are you looking for? What's the most important things you're looking for when you're trying to field judge a bull? And say that we're talking bulls over 350. What's your ingredient there?
I would say when you're looking at something, I'll go like say 370 plus.
Okay.
Is especially on like a typical 6-pointer. A real quick way to do it is just take that you have 50-inch beams, 40 inches wide, 100 inches in mass and spread, and every tine is 20 inches. You got a 400-inch bull. So now you just you're taking the 200 and then add each point and add the 5 points and double it. That's what you're saying. Yeah,
Jay?
and then just take each tine and do a subtraction. If you think he has 18-inch fronts, you just start subtracting.
Okay, good tip. And Jay, do you want a bull, if you're looking for bulls that are scoring, do you feel like, is there one ingredient that's more important than the others as far as, point length, main beam, spread, mass? What do you look for as being the most important?
I'll tell you the thing that hides a lot of the big bulls that when you put a tape on them, that really surprises you every time is probably beams and spread. Those are the things that, even though you see it in the spread, it adds a lot of inches to a bull. And, Arizona has a lot of bulls that have those sweeping out beams where, sometimes we get a lot of extra spread that way. And
so what you're saying is taking your average of 40 inches, you could not really be paying attention and he's 47 wide and you get 7 extra inches there without even really blinking.
Yep. And then you have your 50-inch beams, and then say you kill, I'll talk about Unit 10. 10's known for big beam bulls. And say you have 57-inch beams. Well, there's 14 inches already. You got your 14 inches plus your 7 inches. And, you got a lot bigger bull just on those two things.
Gotcha. Chad, can you throw anything in there, what you look for in when you're trying to look for big bulls? What's your most important ingredient?
I think there's a couple things, but the first thing that comes to mind is it's just like sheep, Jay, and this is history. What do the genetics in the area typically produce? It's very common, like Jay was saying, in units 9 and 10 to shoot big beam bulls, on the western side of the state. We measure, because it's a learning curve, all the bulls we kill, I love to put a tape on them. And very rare is it that we kill a bull with over 53-inch beams in the White Mountains, for whatever reason. And there are a few big beam bulls there, but a lot of even the giant bull Mike Gallo killed years ago, that bull had sub 50-inch beam on one side, and I think 51 on the other. And so first is genetics, what's typical. And then the other thing that can really be a game changer is mass. A lot of inches can be hidden with mass. And that's one that, you just gotta, it's one of those things you just recognize when you see it. And then the last thing is, it's always good to see a bull that you're looking at standing with other mature bulls. A lot of the larger bulls we've killed, Jay, we have history with them. We have their sheds, or else, something to that effect. And so makes it a little easier when you're trying to put a number to them. So
absolutely, that's great stuff there, Chad. Matt, you have anything to add to that on the elk? What you're looking for in a big elk?
Those guys pretty much summed it up.
Yeah.
It's I can say that as far as elk go, I mean, there's in the deer too. I mean, if something's going to score really, really, really well, it's got to have time length somewhere. You know, you don't kill a lot of 400-inch bulls with 14-inch tines. You know, so just touching on something that those guys didn't touch on. You know, yeah, big curling fronts and big thirds and big force. You know, obvious stuff that goes into it with the deer. You know, once we find a buck that's definitely got our attention, if it's not a buck that we have history with and we know how old he is and we, you know, might have his sheds and we know, you know, we got a really good history with him, so we know how big he is. If we, you know, encounter a new buck scouting or hunting, whatever, you know, the very first thing that I pay attention to once he's got our attention is his body size.
Sure.
You know, the mistakes I've made in the past in my guiding career as far as over judging animals, every one of them has been attributed to a smaller body than what I expected. And, you know,
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at a deer, Matt, that's got, you know, 23 inches tip to tip, and all of a sudden there's another deer that's 25, 26, 27 inches tip to tip, I mean, that can make a huge difference, can it?
It can make an enormous difference. And,
yeah,
you know, you can take a 190-inch set of antlers and put it on a 280 or a 300-pound deer, and it looks one way. You take that 190-inch set of antlers and put it on a 175-pound or 180-inch desert deer, and it looks like a new world record. So, and it's this exact same set of antlers. So, you know, body size can really play a huge part, especially in mule deer judging. You know, so that's one of the first things that I try to, if it's an unknown buck and I don't know what it is, I want to know how big his body is, especially if we're hunting and we're thinking about killing this buck. I want to, you know, if he's with other deer, that makes it a lot easier. If he's with does or with other bucks, that makes it a lot easier. If he's alone, it gets tougher. You know, you can look for you know, a different body shape. They're just like humans, you know, a big,
you've got Shaquille O'Neal and
right, a big, you know, mature beefy buck will have a deep, thick chest and oftentimes a sway back, thick shoulders, a big head, you know, versus a younger deer that's immature that you know, just is sleeker all around, looks younger. And, you know, so body size is huge for me, mainly because the mistakes I've made in the past have been because of body size.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point, Matt, that you make. In any species, I think when you're judging, you know, body size means everything. And well, guys, this has been an awesome time spending here with you and you know, getting to share stuff back and forth. And I just want to say hats off to you guys for the success that you've had, and look forward to talking with you again. Maybe we can do another update here midsummer and just see how everything's going. And why don't you guys tell me how the listeners can find you guys, your website, Facebook, or whatever you guys are using. Can you? I follow you guys on Instagram and love seeing all the big pictures. Give me your places where we can the listeners can find you.
Yeah, Jay, we have a website, and that's a3trophyhunts.com. We're on Facebook at A3 Trophy Hunts, and then on Instagram at A3 Trophy Hunts. Those are really our platforms that we use, and that's where we're at.
Awesome.
If we're not out in the field, that's where we are.
Well, here pretty soon it's going to be hard to get a hold of any of you guys, and just wish you the best, and I'm thankful to get all of you guys on at the same time, and just want to say thanks, and hope you guys have a great season, and I know you're looking forward to the results coming out here soon, and you guys do a terrific job, and I'm proud of you, and keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you very much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having us, Jay.
What a great show with A3 Trophy Hunts. I want to thank those guys for coming on. I want to thank you, our listeners. for tuning in and supporting us. And, thank you for the reviews on iTunes. If you haven't already gone on to iTunes and given us a 5-star review, 5-star rating, and you can put some comments there, it sure helps us out with iTunes. I just want to thank you guys for listening and spending your day, spending your time with us. And we look forward to the next episode. You can follow along at jscottoutdoors.com. People have been asking about our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel. We have over 1 million views on YouTube. We have, I believe, 1,250 subscribers. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, you can go to J. Scott Outdoors on YouTube and subscribe there. We've got a lot of great hunting videos, how-to, a lot of different great stuff there. Also, J. Scott Outdoors Facebook page, and you can follow on Instagram at J. Scott Outdoors, and my associate Dar Colburn, Darr Colburn, Colburn. Follow us there on Instagram, and we just want to thank you guys for being with us, and until next time, God bless.